Good evening and welcome to tonight's playtest of the Road to Petra, our modern horror setting or modern horror adventure for the 66 RPG. We're picking up halfway through episode 2. I think this is our 7th session. So basic setting is that the characters are part of a documentary film crew for a cable TV channel called Mystery Science TV, who are sort of a Discovery National Geographic type cable channel, and they're making a documentary on weird things which are happening, investigating mysteries with science and a certain amount of bullshit as well. So they've been investigating it. They've done one episode so far, which was about a deadly plague, and they've discovered stuff about magic symbols and and I think something called the Outer Darkness, which seems to be a sort of multi-dimensional space and horrible creatures or possibly lurking there. Certainly supernatural stuff is happening. The team has moved on to start filming their second episode, which is about a village where the population abandoned the village because it was haunted by ghosts. A local TV crew went to investigate the village and spend the night there, and they disappeared. So the team are following on from those mysteries. What seems to be a connecting theme is everything seems to kick off with the first episode and the second episode relating to a shooting star which was seen a couple of months ago, and everything weird seems to have happened since then. There's also seems to be a connection between the original mystery and this village in the connection of a person called Yasid, who has gone missing and possibly has stolen an ancient artifact. Now, the crew are in the village, have investigated the village in the daytime, they've found a well, they've looked down the well, they've found some magical symbols engraved in the dead end of the well. There's a collapsed passage, and they found some symbols. So they were leaving it, so they wanted to investigate more about the hamlet, its history, and about Yasid. Also, they're going to prepare to spend the night in the village. So we'll rejoin the characters. They've made it back to the hotel for lunchtime, so we're going to spend the afternoon gathering information and prepping, and then probably head to the village for the night. So that's where we are. Jay, do you want to give a very brief introduction to your character?
Yeah, I'm playing Christina Peters. She's the archaeologist and academic of the group. She spends most of her time complaining about how hideous the working conditions are, despite the fact she's secretly fascinated by what's going on. She just much rather was studying it back in her research institute and not out in the wilds.
Pat?
I am Pamela Hoskins. Pamela Hoskins, indeed. I used to be a US fighter pilot, and now I'm a TV personality. Cool under pressure, and with a no-nonsense style and direct approach to problems. I'm also the host of the show. I'm not very scientific.
Excellent. So, what have your plans? What would you like to do? How would you like to prep?
So, where are the nearest town and villages to? Okay, so we had the little hamlet. There's only like half a dozen buildings, if that.
That's right. That's about a mile outside the city of. Oh yeah, it is a while since we.
Yeah. Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
All the villagers have been arrested, haven't they?
Yes, that's what you've heard.
Right, and we weren't able to find a census of the people living in the village, so the best we can really do in terms of gathering information is to try and poodle around the town, because our limited civilian access means we haven't been able to find anything out about the villagers or Yasid, so mostly because we're going around the town.
I would give you a prompt because with sort of like the gaps in our playing schedule, is that the one potential lead you do have is the TV crew who went missing.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose but finding more about them is not going to really help find out what happened to them as so much. I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, the ID card from Yasid What does it say on it?
Name and normal sort of ID details. So name, address, presumably.
Yeah, where is the address?
Back in Ramallah, where you came from. You're in Hebron, by the way. That's the city you're in.
Yeah, okay, so we're in Hebron and it's back in Ramallah. That's unhelpful. No point in asking questions about him here, then. Highly unlikely to know anyone. Yeah, the best I've got is, at the moment, to gather information, is just asking questions around town and seeing what the gossip's like.
What, just sort of like hanging around in coffee shops, asking people about what, have they heard of a village, or?
Yeah, essentially just trying to get some kind of lead or handle on it, because I don't know of anyone to specifically ask questions of who would give me an answer.
Okay, Pat, have you any thoughts on this?
Sorry, I've just been reading up on what happened in the previous sessions. I think if we're going somewhere that's kind of abandoned and kind of not of ill repute anyway, then perhaps our best bet is just to go for it, rather than, because we don't want to antagonize anyone, and people can get a bit kind of superstitious about that kind of thing.
That's true. You can always never underestimate how grumpy people can get.
If we let, like, say, if local kids find out we're there, they might try and, you know, interfere with the filming, or, you know, just try and scare us for, you know, their own entertainment.
Yeah, okay.
So perhaps we go to the protest area.
Yeah, well, we've already had spent a fair bit of time scouting the place already, so I don't doubt that people already know we're going there again.
Well, have we been there at night?
We have spent, what, a good... No, we haven't been there at night yet. So I want to check it out. Yeah. Okay, I'm just... Yeah. Dr. Peters is probably just going to hit the town in the afternoon and see what gossip she can pick up. Classic old-fashioned gather information check.
Okay, well, yeah, give me some advantages.
So obviously, socially adept is going to be one. Working language, so I can help talk to people. Engender trust is going to be useful on this. Probably going to go with linguistics, adapt to drawings and words. Traveller, wildly travelled, so I know how to just strike up conversations. Oh, sorry, that says static. Only got 46. Yeah, 46.
Okay, yeah, give it a roll.
Nice. 10, 19.
What was that noise?
That was my phone.
Yes, very good. Yeah, you sort of asking about it. What sort of places? Give me some sort of sense of where you're asking.
Yeah, going to be coffee houses as the main thing, because we're looking at the late afternoon or so. So I won't be asking bars, particularly within the Muslim quarter. It's not really a lot of what you call bars, but basically looking at the coffee houses, the kind of people who are just knocking off work, and essentially going to try a range of almost districts. To be honest, I mean, starting off in some of the nicer upper class areas, and trying to just see what the kind of gossip you've got on around there. And then essentially just trying to move my way down the social strata as I'm not making much progress.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, because as you sort of start probably around the area of your hotel, which is rather upmarket and modern, you get very little. Few people have heard of it, you know, or vaguely remember it being on the news, but don't have anything to say. You sort of work your way out of town. When you get into the poorer areas, you do a little bit better. You do better, full stop. And what you find out is that the reporters who went missing worked for a TV company called Aratel. Now, Aratel is very popular amongst the poorer end of the social ladder, and is quite seen as quite anti-establishment. So those people have paid more attention to it because obviously there's been quite a major bit of news on that channel, and they certainly, people seem quite attached to the channel, actually quite motivated. Seems to divide opinion to a certain extent. But people don't get a lot of information directly, though, that just people seem to care quite a bit about the TV channel. But what you do hear, what you do pick up, some of the rumours, a lot of contradictory rumours, because people don't seem to know a lot of facts. But while certainly some people are saying the villagers were arrested, others say they are just in a refugee camp, and that they were not arrested at all.
Okay, do they know which camp? Or do they have a rumour about which camp?
No, they don't. They haven't got that specific information. Just vaguely, someone says, "Oh yeah, didn't they have it on the news that they'd been put in a camp or something like that?" I couldn't remember which one. Pat, what are you doing during the afternoon?
I'm actually going to be checking with the studio to see if there's any chance of us getting a helicopter in so we can do some aerial shots of the town.
Oh, back to headquarters.
Yeah. Obviously, probably on a satellite phone or something,
Yeah. That's another thing. The producer thinks, oh, well, that might be interesting. Would you want it sort of like in the daytime or in the night?
Well, it'd be good if we could get both kind of shots, but obviously rental on machines like that aren't cheap. So
what the producer suggests is, maybe we could get it to sort of like turn up just before dawn, because that would be us staggering out of the village at dawn, having survived the night of ghosts. That would be a nice sort of dramatic way of doing it, and the dawn light and all that stuff. So yeah, excellent idea. Do you want to phone him, the boss, or do you want me to do it?
I'll phone him. I'll use my I've got skills for this.
If you remember, your producer is sort of the person in charge, so he's not really in a position to authorise the helicopter. There's a sort of probably a proper chain of command up to the sort of like the channel head and station head and things like that. But you do know that the owner of this whole operation, this massive cable company and a multi-billionaire, was instrumental in setting up this program and seems to have some sort of special interest in him. And so obviously he's the person who definitely could give it a go-ahead.
He's nearby, isn't he? Didn't we run into it?
He's in Dubai, which is where his cable company. But you can get him on the phone.
I'll try and.
Okay, so you're going straight to the boss. Let me just find his name details again. Yusuf Al-Masri, that's the man himself. So yeah, you sort of get through to his office, and his PA or secretary wants to know what it's about.
I can't remember what we're actually called. The show.
Science in the Danger Zone.
Well, it's Pamela Hoskins here from Science in the Danger Zone. We needed some quite heavy equipment very quickly, and we were wondering if we could get it directly authorized rather than going through the chain of command, which may take us too long to actually be able to put on the show we wanted. I'm going to my diplomacy and my fake sincerity. and team talk doesn't really make sense. Public relations. Yeah.
What does it actually say on public relations?
Using the media for one's own ends. So I could drop that I am Pamela Hoskins.
Well, yeah, I'd say you could in that you. This is a request to make a better program, so you could speak the language of media. So I'll go with that one.
So that's 3d6 plus 0, but I re-roll ones on one of those dice. So
On all of them, isn't it? It's just a dice.
Is that how it works? I didn't realise.
Yeah. It's any dice in the action you get to re-roll.
Alright, I got 2, 6, and 5. It didn't show up on the screen though, so I don't know.
Okay, so it's 13. Okay. Yeah. There's a brief pause, and actually you're surprised how quickly it goes through. The polite receptionist voice says, "Mr. Al-Mazri will speak to you now," and sort of cuts through to him. "Hello, Pamela."
Hello, Mr. Face.
Mr. Al-Mazri.
Mr. Al-Masri, we're here at the village area prepping for our second episode. Some of the team thought it might be prudent to get some aerial shots, and we're wondering if we could get permission to requisition an aircraft, a light helicopter or similar aircraft.
Oh, are you planning to spend the night there?
That was our intention, yes. We wanted to try and get some aerial shots.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If you think it's going to help make a better TV program, that's no problem. I like that idea. So yes, my PA will sort of message you with some information. You stay safe tonight, and the phone goes dead.
Okay.
And a few moments later, you get the appropriate paperwork and contact details and stuff to get it all sorted out, which the producer will take off your hands and do for you.
Okay. So we have a helicopter.
We do.
Yeah, they'll arrange for it to sort of like turn up at the village about half an hour before dawn, and then you can sort of plan what shots you want for the dawn light and things at the time.
I'd also like them to do a bit of a fly around the area, not looking too conspicuous, just to look out for any interesting geographical or geological kind of features that might be of interest to our kind of viewers. We are a science show, after all.
Yeah, they can do that in the morning because you'll book it. You'll have 3 hours of flight time, so you're only going to take no more than half an hour to do the whole dawn shots and stuff. So yeah, using it to do a bit of sweep of the area will be good stock footage for the show.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay, so would it be worthwhile spending any time talking to the TV company? What would they tell us? They'd tell us people went missing. Tell us the police impounded the van. They could tell us the names of these people, and the families would say the same thing. So, yeah, I'm tempted to see that going and spending the night is going to be the next obvious thing to do. I don't know of anyone else we could ask for any information.
Hmm.
Okay, so you're happy to sort of like gear up and head to the village for nightfall?
Yep,
Yeah,
pretty much.
let's get out there.
Okay, yeah, so you get all your gear together, cameraman, get everything, and pack up your 3 lovely 4-wheel drives, slightly battered nowadays, and head off once more to the village.
Sorry,
You sort of, yeah.
Yep, okay. So we head towards the village. Yeah, trying to work out what we're going to expect. Well, obviously, do a piece to camera, I suppose, on Pat's sorting himself
Yeah,
out.
do a piece of camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're heading out to the village now. So obviously, got some interesting questions we're going to be
Screaming in the
asked.
street.
Not what else is the more important thing about all this is what is it that actually did scare the villagers off? Are we actually going to see ghosts? Are we going to see more of the sand creature that perhaps may have been the remnant of the security guard in the previous little village we went to? Are we going to find nothing? Are we going to be left alone? Has it moved on? We're going to find a lot of unanswered questions tonight, and I fear we may end up with more questions before we find some answers.
Brilliant.
Did we
Okay.
get footage of the sand creatures?
Yes, you did.
So we basically got empirical proof of the supernatural.
Yeah, or a good CGI budget. One of the two.
Yes.
So yeah, but you have some very interesting footage.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you drive out. You get there not long before dark. Sun will set around 6 p.m. So you're getting there sort of like 5:30ish. Where do you want to sort of set up, really?
Good caution would tell us to set up a good 50 or so meters from the hamlet, pitch tents, and be nowhere near it during the night. And just literally observe it with cameras for the first night and see if anything actually happens or not. Good TV says we drive into the middle of it, park the vans, the landies, with the doors facing the things, and we actually stay inside the houses.
How much time have we got?
Well, you got about 12 hours of darkness.
I mean, are we on a deadline?
No, you've got a few days here.
So we could, we don't have to show everything we're doing. We could spend some time observing, but just not film it. And then...
Or film it but with some
Yeah.
clever editing.
Yeah, just keep our cameras penned on the village, keep all the night vision on, keep an eye on it for a night, see if anything looks dangerous, and then do the whole driving in and everybody yelling and getting out of cars the next night. The only problem is if we're spotted by the same policeman who arrested the previous team, or rather didn't.
Yeah. There's nothing stopping us just moving around. We're on public roads a lot of the time. And none of the villagers are about to complain about us trespassing, so alright, so toss a coin. Pat, do a plus or minus dice for me.
Okay. You mean tops and bottoms, yeah?
Yeah, tops, we're going to spend the night in the village proper.
Okay, so let's go for a d4. Clear. Roll. There we are. 1. So bottom.
Okay, that's odd. So it's a low. So we'll be staking out for a night first before we actually spend the night in the village itself.
Okay, yeah, you can probably about 100, 150 meters away from the buildings proper. There's probably a little bit of a ridge you can sort of, well, just on the edge of the valley, just as it rises, gives you a little bit of a vantage point. So yeah, you can set up there. Okay, you set up there, and you sit and wait. Anyone got anything to do while they're waiting?
Sorry. I'm going to run a couple of camera checks and equipment checks here as well while we're here. I know I'm not a techie, but
Yeah. The producer Farouk will be sort of sticking cameras in everyone's faces every now and again to get pieces to camera as the night wears on. So yeah, and the tech crew are making sure everything works. You've got some sort of low light cameras and you've got some of those sort of cameras you can set up and places as well. So yeah, you've got lots of cameras around. And actually, that's probably something you could do. You've probably got the technology to do is put a camera inside the village and have a live feed from it.
Yeah.
So like skulk into the village now, drop one off, and then come back later. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that just before dark.
Yeah. It's better surveillance. Well, we'll find a good place to set it up. If there's a main street, I think we should just point it down the main street.
5 buildings, Pat, around a well.
Oh, right. Well, there we are then.
You put a big fisheye lens on it, or a wide-angle lens, and stick it so that it can see as much of the buildings as possible.
Okay, yeah, you get the best you can. Okay, and nothing happens for some time. But around about midnight, something starts to happen. You're not sure it's something happening at first. There just seems to be. First thing you notice is there seems to be a little bit more light around the village, and just seems to be more lit, and then it sort of slowly comes into view in the sort of like the entire landscape around the village takes on a ghostly shimmer, and as it's the best way of describing it is a sort of like a glowing translucent copy of the world is sort of layered on top of reality. So you can see a village, you know, half a dozen buildings, but they're sort of laid on top of the existing villages. The buildings are in slightly different places. There's, you know, trees are in different places, but some of the features, more permanent ones, are in the same place, and they just seem to have a shimmer to them. So there's definitely something happening.
Sorry,
there.
guys, the
I think that was.
Hangouts has stopped on my tablet. I can't hear you. If you can hear me, I'm just trying to get it back.
Okay, while he's doing that, the camera we placed inside the village itself, what's that now receiving or transmitting?
Okay, yeah, pretty much what you can see with your own eyes, except in a bit more detail. There does seem to be a ghostly world superimposed on top of the real world, and this ghostly world is a sort of like the real world, but different. As I say, trees in slightly different places. One of the huts in the ghost village is sort of like half inside and half outside one of the modern real houses. But one of the things you do notice on that camera is there appears to be ghostly forms moving around.
So there are ghostly forms moving around inside the village.
Yeah, it's a lot harder for you to spot from your position, but it's definitely there on the remote camera.
Sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
No problem.
Did you get my message?
Yeah, we heard you. Yes.
Okay. Because I've got no sound, I don't know if the speaker's working or not. Okay. Come on. I'm trying to...
So yeah, there are ghostly forms in the village, Pat.
There are.
There are ghostly forms in the village.
Interesting.
The camera we placed in the village can make them out. We're a bit too far away.
Does anybody want to go in and do we want to run in with the camera and see if we can't like interact with them in some way, or do we want to leave it for now and make our plan based on this information?
Well, the information we've got is, look, ghostly people. How are the ghostly people moving in a sort of pattern?
They seem to be there seems to be gathered in the orchard mostly. And mostly the ones which are moving around seem to be moving to and from there.
They're farming the apples.
Olives is what it. But but you can't really tell what they're doing because of course the olive grove is a little bit away from the village or outside of your remote camera as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I get. If I had to guess, I suspect that's what they're doing. So we've essentially got a snippet of whoever these people's daily lives is.
Yeah, just to give you a slightly bigger picture. Yeah, the shimmering train, the ghostly train, it's definitely centered around the village, and as it goes further out from the village, it fades away. You are actually probably maybe just on the edge of it, of that sort of thing. It's very faint, and actually, until you actually think to look locally, you don't even notice it. But you're in sort of like this ghostly terrain, just ever so slightly.
Okay. The second question to that is it centered around the well?
It's centered around the village. It's very hard to say, pinpoint an exact center, but it's certainly not implausible that it's the well.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be a damn sight more useful if we get. We might as well get stuck in. I mean, if we can watch them the entire night, and I suspect what we'll just see them is see them just go through a day until it fades. We won't learn anything unless we just get stuck in and have an actual look. So we should probably go in and have a look.
That sounds good to me. Well, I'll head in first because that's my job.
Okay.
And you'll probably need me because for the linguistics, somebody tells me I very much doubt they're going to be speaking English.
I don't doubt they'll be speaking at all. So
Okay,
I'll do
so
a camera quickly before we go in.
yes, definitely. There's a few of you going in as tech crew, some staying behind as well and getting sort of longer shots. But yeah, piece to camera, Pamela.
Yeah. Okay, we're just on the edge of the village now, and we spotted something very interesting. Our cameras are picking up what appears to be some kind of intangible presence in the village itself. Now, I'm going in with sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Christina.
I'm going in with Christina on the off chance that these things communicate in any way. We'll be needing a translator for that, and the tech crew. But we want to keep the numbers low so as not to potentially scare anything if these are some kind of animal or ghost. We don't want to frighten them away, so we're going in low numbers, slow in.
Yep.
Let's go. Sorry.
Okay. Give me some sense of the style when you're going in. Are you walking in boldly, running in, or creeping up, or somewhere?
I think we'll do the
cautiously.
Yeah. Kind of. What's the word? The soldier run, the soldier stealthy run up to the outskirts of the village, and then kind of creep from there.
Okay.
The rest of the team probably looks a little bit curiously at you because Christina just kind of walks in.
Well, it looks better for the cameras if we're kind of
trying to sneak. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I attempt to sneak for 1d6 because I can only concentrate for that.
I can't sneak either, but I can look like I'm sneaking with my fake sincerity.
Bear in mind there's actually probably half a dozen of you, and two of them are carrying cameras with big lights on, filming this. So stealth.
I just have this image in my head of like the idea of a kind of a bard type character who's so good at pretending to sneak that somehow it works.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you sneak up to the edge of a village. You sort of basically at sort of like one of the nearest outhouses, and what you get a better scene of it. One thing you'll notice, Christina, is that the ghost terrain, the ghost village, they look like mud huts and a lot more primitive. Though there seems to be, you'd say actually it's almost better quality. It's more prosperous. There seems to be more ghostly vegetation than there are in real life. And you can actually see, I think you found evidence of another olive orchard further down the valley. The ghostly form of that is quite strongly evident, and obviously was certainly had bigger orchards in this ghost world.
Is there a ghost rock nearby?
Yeah.
Just something on the ground. Can I tend to basically stand on it.
Okay. Yeah. It's best described as the ghost, a pale, faded version of reality. You stand on it and nothing happens. Well, your sort of foot goes through it and like it's not there.
Can't interact with it at all then. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't help thinking. Could you put a link in the chat to the symbols for me, please?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, that one's the player one. That'll be the one to share with you. There you go.
It's a shame Mark's character's not here, otherwise I'd be kind of in the mood for seeing if we could cast something to make them more solid, but I just kind of asking for getting shunted into a parallel universe, that is.
He has magic powers now?
Mark's character does, yes. He has the symbols as equipment.
Yeah, you've all.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you've all sort of now got understanding of the magic. So in theory, any of you can use it, but Mark has certainly been focusing on that. Yeah. So as you get to that edge of the village, and these, you pass through ghostly fort rocks and stuff. You notice that the villagers that are gathered in the orchards, and what you'd say is that they probably seem to be sort of having a celebration. They all seem to be sitting around eating or something along those lines.
Okay, so they don't look like they're doing anything suspicious.
No, there's about 30 or 40 of them of all ages.
Anything that we wouldn't think suspicious if it weren't for the fact that they were ghosts.
Yes.
Right. 30 or 40 of them?
Yeah. Yeah, you think village of half a dozen homes,
Oh yeah, I suppose, it's at least. Okay, we don't have any, no, of course we don't have any photo evidence from back when the village was believed to be haunted. That was a very long time ago. Right. Well, we'll get lots of footage of them, and then I suppose we can go and try and communicate with one of them.
Yeah, is there an adult-sized one standing off by itself anywhere?
Yeah, there's sort of like one sort of like coming in your general directions. It seems to be carrying an empty bowl, so maybe seems to be heading back to the houses for food.
Okay, is there a stick on the ground?
There can be, yes.
Okay, I pick up the stick. I kind of stand to one side of the path it would walk on, and simply say hello in a variety of local languages.
Well, it's coming towards you. The orchard's about 30-40 metres away from the actual home, so you see it sort of leave and coming towards you. You get into position, and it's about maybe only a few metres away from you when there is something happens up in the sky. the sort of the villagers, the ghosts, seem to react to it, and that's actually what draws your attention to look up. And what's going to be described as a ghostly shooting star streaks across the sky. A single large glowing object. It actually sort of does light up the valley as it passes overhead, and it quickly disappears beyond the horizon in a southerly direction.
Is it heading for Ramallah?
No, it's going the wrong way for that. It's more heading towards going southwards through the Palestinian territory, so the general direction of the Sinai and Egypt.
Is that where the meteor fell in ancient times?
You never quite established where it fell, but it certainly passed over this region in ancient times. Okay. One thing that does strike you both about it is that the meteor which happened in a couple of months ago, obviously there was lots of footage of that with everyone's cell phones and everything. This looks remarkably like it.
Okay, it's definitely, from what we see, it's definitely low enough to be an atmosphere, yeah?
Oh yeah, I mean it looks, as from your probably quite limited knowledge of meteors, to be in the atmosphere burning up, much like that one we saw a couple of years ago in Russia.
Yeah.
When you're sort of watching this and it sort of disappears down the horizon, and your eyes are just tracking it, and you just look round, and the ghosts seem to be in a complete panic and running towards the building. Most of them are sort of running towards the building. Some seem to be scattering in all directions. There's a few running in your personal directions, directly at you.
Okay, try and get out of the way, and as they go past, try and say hello.
Okay. Right, given that you're such a klutz, I want some sort of action, and you were trying to get quite close to them anyway, so I think you need to be quick off your toes to get out of the way.
Okay, well, you're getting a D6, because that's all we've got.
What, have you got nothing?
I have no body cards.
Oh, yes. And yes, all academic. Yep, Ms.
All have a mind cards. No body, no soul, so...
I have sharp eyes and distinctive looks.
Anyway, 6.
Okay, so Pat, the one will be running towards you as well. Would you like to put together some sort of action to dodge out the way, if you want to dodge out the way?
I am actually
Rugby tackle.
No. I'm going to just stand my ground and see what happens.
Okay, so you stand your ground.
Be aware of me. Is she making a course for me?
No, you. Best impression you've got is that she's completely oblivious to your existence.
Right. Yeah. Then I'm just going to stand there and see if she passes through me.
Okay. Right. She passes through you. And that dice roll I've just made, as she passes through you, you feel very cold. And it's +2 on that, so that's 9 in total. -1 because you always get a resistance of 1, even if you play no cards. So you've just taken 8 points of cold damage, very real cold damage.
8 points.
8 points. There's going to be an advantage or 2, I suspect.
Yeah, that's going to be my self and my distinctive looks.
Okay. Jay, you've rolled a 6 in resistance, and I roll a 2 and a 6 +2, so that's 10 -6, 4 points of cold damage. As you mostly get out of the way, but it sort of partially passes through you. I mean, they feel icy cold.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm probably going to be losing my quick wits for a bit.
One of your other producers, one of the cameramen, sort of is trying to get a shot of the ghost running straight into the camera and gets the shot perfectly, and then sort of screams as it sort of passes through.
Does Does the ghost affect the camera in any way? Does it damage it, or the magnetic kind of strips inside?
Nothing immediately. I mean, the cameraman is slightly more concerned with the fact that he's just taken a wad of damage.
Yeah, well,
So what are you doing immediately now? The villagers are sort of like running. One of your cameramen is sort of like isn't doing his job very well. The other one seems to be is sort of like trying to capture the reactions of you guys and the cameraman.
I'm going to say let's make a tactical retreat.
Yep. Okay.
These things can hurt us, and although
Yeah,
they
I
don't,
can agree on that.
yeah, they don't seem to be, doing it on purpose. There are a lot of them, and they're all running in random directions. So,
Okay, yeah, you bug out back to the vehicles and the rest of the crew. Half helping your colleague, the cameraman, who seemed to take it full in the face. And yeah, when you sort of like get back there and look back over the village, all the villagers are out of sight. The village looks deserted.
okay. Did any of the cameras we had trained on the village from our vantage point catch where the figures went?
Yeah, yes, you do. Most of them, some of them ran into the houses and are therefore out of sight. Some of them seem to run down the valley or up the valley or to hide behind something. You can't say you've accounted for all the villagers, but it's perfectly credible that if those people ran and hid, you wouldn't be able to see them. If you see what I mean, they didn't just like disappear. There was some continuity.
So they didn't just fizzle out of existence.
No. The ghostly terrain is still there, ghostly houses are still there, just no people.
Interesting. What do you make of this?
Okay, so the shimmer is still there.
Mm-hmm. It's now about 1 o'clock in the morning.
But we can't see any people. So, looking back at the camera footage we've got, we just see them scatter, yeah?
Yeah.
Did some of them go inside some of the buildings?
Yes, they did.
My uncommon sense would say, oh, go and look in some of the buildings. See what they're up to. But I most suspect they're just going to be cowering. Did we hear anything while we were there?
No. The only sounds you heard are real sounds, you might say. You didn't hear any sounds coming from the ghosts. Didn't hear any screaming ghosts or anything like that. Though it certainly looked possible that some of those people were screaming as they ran from a shooting star.
So getting closer up into the things, and it looks not going to tell us very much, because even if we could talk to them, or we could, yeah. Because if we could listen to them, we might have an idea what they're talking about. But mostly it'll be a giant demon thing from above, run, flee, and panic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that was vaguely useful. It doesn't tell us why the crew disappeared. The shimmer is still there, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And we've still got the camera still working?
Yep. Yeah, the ghosts seem to have no effect on the equipment other than the lens frosted up for a moment or two. It's obviously cold.
Okay. It would be very interesting to see if exactly the same thing happens the next night.
No, it would.
I'd be very surprised if it didn't.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we've got to do something to camera about this. I mean, this is...
Well, my thought was to wait and see until the shimmer goes away, and what time the shimmer goes away, because that's going to be useful. And I also have no intention of being inside the shimmer when it goes away. Because I suspect that's what happened to the crew.
It might be worth leaving something in there to see what happens to it, though.
We already have. We've got a camera on a remote.
Yeah.
They're trying to find a chicken.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, well,
You're right.
as you're sort of standing around chatting, and Farouk goes, well, yeah, go piece to camera, Pamela. So he sets you up, so you've got your back to the village and his filming. As you sort of just about starting and the camera's rolling, Jay, you'll notice that something's happening in the village. There seems to be movement in the village.
Okay, I point out there's movement in the village.
You can continue with your piece to camera, or do you want to do your piece to camera as the and turn around, Pat, or what?
Yeah, I'm going to continue doing the piece of camera, but we're going to turn towards the village. I'm just going to be like pointing at the camera and going, okay, there is literally within our current knowledge of science, there is nothing which can explain, or very little that can explain what we saw last night, unless it was some kind of optical illusion, which we know for a fact it is not, because it was able to physically interact with us and touch us. We've just spotted something else moving in the village. We're going to go in now and see if we can't get a closer look. I'm just going to sort of start waving people over.
Okay. Yeah, as it becomes fairly clear after a few moments, because people are coming out of the house, and what you get the impression of is actually the village. It's a village going about its normal business. Seems completely disconnected from the 30 minutes ago of them running away, hiding. They're sort of like children following after what we guess to be parents, and chickens being fed, clothes washed, gardens weeded. There seems to be people in the orchards again, doing orchardy type things, picking or playing, doing things to the trees.
What time is it?
It's probably about 1:30 now. And you would say that right now you're seeing daily life in a village.
Bringing up the camera footage from where it first appeared and what we're seeing now, because obviously the Land Rovers have got laptops and the like of it, does it sync up?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to repeat.
No. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood you. No, this is definitely different. First time you noticed people, they were mostly in the orchard, seemed to be having this party or gathering. This is completely different. This seems to be just mundane. The sort of village life which has remained largely unchanged for 2,000 years.
I'm going to say we really should just... I'm more a little cautious about getting stuck in there if there was a time switch or...
Yeah, we don't want that to happen.
We're still getting feed from the camera in there?
Yep.
I'm guessing, since this seems to be happening serially, and the film crew haven't come back, that means it only works one way.
Yes, because otherwise if that had happened again, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Best thing we can do is just keep watching and see if the film crew suddenly appear in the scene.
Okay, you keep watching with that in mind, and your attention is drawn to the second orchard, which is you found traces that in the real world, like it had been abandoned a long time ago, but in the ghost world, it's very real and very healthy. There seems to be something happens down there, and you can see a cluster of people coming up from from that second orchard into the village, and when they sort of like come into the village properly, you actually get a quite good look at them on the remote camera, and there's basically there's a naked man. There seems to be several villagers, male villagers, who have been working the orchards, and this naked man who is shivering. That's quite obvious on the camera, and your impression you got is that there was marks on his body, possibly tattoos, and he seemed to be clutching something to his chest. But he then passes out of the remote camera, and you're too far away from the village to see with the naked eye.
Okay, so that explains where he's gone then. Supposition. That's...
Did you might want to just recap why you think that is?
I'll do a piece of camera actually on it.
Yeah.
You haven't done one in a while.
Yeah. That, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, is a clue. Now, what we found down in the well was an awful lot of markings that essentially described someone as protecting a portal or protecting transit. Now, well, we have a pretty good idea of what Yased looks like, and we know his height from his ID card, and you look at that man on there, and we know the man's naked, we know he was in cold water before he went, we also know that he's probably got tattoos on his body, given the previous actions of his compatriots. It's not going to be a significant leap to work out that Yased has gone out the bottom of that well and somehow ended up in the past. And what we just saw then was almost a replay of what happened when he turned up in the village. Heaven knows what they must have thought about him when he turned up. He certainly couldn't have spoken the same language. Question is, do we want to follow him? And better yet, what happened to him later? It's a shame he went through with no items on him. Maybe he thought he couldn't carry them, but perhaps we could look at the archaeology of the site and see if anything else turns up. Had to turned up. If he brought anything with him, something may have been left behind. Okay, we're going to carry on watching because I am convinced we're going to see the camera crew turn up. As we watch, does it just carry on, play out the same scene?
Yeah, as you watch, this what you might call scene sort of lasts for sort of an hour or so, where the villagers are clearly sort of looking after this man. They see it looks like blankets. You see blankets being brought out and things like that, and you get sort of what you can see from a distance. Maybe this is sort of like the sunning him. You know, that was sort of how you'd interpret it. And at a certain point, that he disappears into one of the buildings with a couple of the villagers. Village life sort of resumes, you know, as you would. You know, something strange happens, you pay attention to it for a while. Then, when all the immediate excitement's gone, you get on with your life. Yeah, for about the next hour or so, the village life continues. You don't see the tattooed man again, until about an hour. You do see him again. He passes in front of one of your camera once, and you definitely get the impression that time has passed, because he's dressed. He even appears to have a beard where he didn't have a beard before, and he seems to be sort of like, you know, feeding the chickens or helping out in a garden or something like that.
It's very interesting that this isn't in real time.
Yeah, it's bouncing around.
Which suggests that it's not rooted. That it's not showing us a specific time period. It's very interesting that it's showing us the times when the particular person was here. Unless, of course, that's just because that's the time it went to, and it always opens to the...
Well, okay, hang on a sec. Here's an idea, Pat. The first time equals the meteor, which is a magic event. The second time is Yasid's appearance, which is a...
Don't type while you're speaking, Jay.
Okay. The first time he appears is the meteor. That's a magic event. The second time he appears is the second period or block of time we've seen is when the acid appears, which is another magic event. So I'm wondering if we're going to see him cast again, or something magic happen at this point in the next hour or so.
Which seems a good point to introduce the next development. And do sort of watching. It's probably now coming up to 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe heading towards 4. Dawn, about an hour away. Village life is continuing. You notice ghostly forms coming down the road, down the valley. They're indistinct partly because of the distance you are from them, but also partly because the whole ghostly world fades out, so it takes a while for them to come out. But Christina, you will definitely recognise what is a squad of 20 Roman centurions marching into the settlement.
Soldiers, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not centurions.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Centurions were their commanders.
20 Roman centurions generally implies you've got 2,000 troops.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, 20 Roman soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
They march into the village. You don't get a real idea of what happens, but clearly something does happen, because about 5-10 minutes after they arrive, there seems to be people running, Roman soldiers chasing people down. You see at least one person, one of the ghosts, get killed by a Roman. There's you see the tattooed man running and hiding, and generally the sort of Romans ransack the village for half an hour, and then march away.
Okay, so that kind of implies that, yeah, right, there's no magic, so that was a traumatic event.
Well, as you sort of watch, you see the tattooed man come out of hiding, and sort of walk over to one of the dead ghosts, and you're not entirely sure what he's doing because you haven't got a good, you're not close enough to see properly, but it wouldn't be too much of a leap of imagination to say that he's drawing something on his body.
There we go. So yeah.
And as you're doing this, you hear the thump, 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 thump of a helicopter coming.
Right.
Go on to get on the radio then, Pamela.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know. We've got. Sorry, this is Pamela Hoskins talking to the pilot of the incoming vehicle.
Yep. You'll get them online.
We've got a situation in the village at the moment. Who's in the helicopter with you?
There's just the pilot. Plan was they would come
pilot.
down, pick up a couple of the cameramen or one of the presenters, and fly around.
Yeah, definitely. What we want you to do is, if you could very quickly go to the base where the film crew are, pick up the sturdier of the two film crew members, and do an overflight of the village. We want particular attention on the figures in the middle. The cameraman will know which ones we mean.
Okay, yeah, they sort of flick the lights on the four-wheel drives, and the helicopter comes in to land. Yeah, it's odd. You're not entirely sure quite what happens, if there was a cause and effect, but obviously the helicopter coming in kicks up some dust, and it's a sandy area. But you also notice in the ghost world there seems to be dust or sand kicking up all around the village as well, and obscuring things. Hmm.
Okay, so the heli lands,
Yeah.
picks up a camera crew.
Yep, and we'll take off again. Yeah, one of the assistant producers will also jump in to be on the radio and point things out.
Assistant. I'll put Astprod down rather than Asprod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so helicopter takes off and starts to circle. By the time this sort of like the actual real dust disappears, and you can see that the ghostly images are fading out. The soldiers have gone. The ghostly image from further up the valleys are gone. It is sort of fading out towards the heart of the village, and as the sun rises, it all disappears, and when the sun first breaks the horizon.
Okay, that's fine.
Pamela, piece the camera, please.
Well, we've seen some very interesting things here tonight. First of all, the presence of those ghostly figures, and secondly, what we suspect is a window into the past and proof that one of the men who disappeared was actually transported there. This says some very interesting things about the nature of the universe, frankly, and the nature of events in this region. We'll try and get as much information for you as it kind of develops, but we have a lot of stuff that needs to go on, and probably, to be honest, needs to go back to some kind of laboratory. If we could come out here with some better equipment and take some readings of kind of temperature and magnetic stuff, that would be amazing. But unfortunately, at the moment, we're dealing with science that we have. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's pretty good.
Okay, you sort of stop that piece to camera, and you really feel the sun is really sort of like come up over the horizon, getting good light. When you all feel a bit odd. Right. So this is going to be a hazard.
Pat's dropped out. So.
Oh.
Everything else has stopped again.
Okay, well, don't worry. We'll wait for you to come back in.
If sun comes up, everyone feels a bit odd.
Mm.
Sorry, at least it's quicker getting back in this time. Sorry, what did I miss?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we'll just wait it for you. Yeah, I think things go a bit odd. So, right, this hazard is time distortion. Cause no longer leads to effect, and events appear out of sequence like a badly edited film. The human brain has not evolved to cope with this form of reality. So, it's sort of like as the sort of ghostly world and the real world sort of go back into sync, you experience the world in a very strange way. The helicopter seemed to jump around the sky, and people say things in strange orders, and it's just, your brain is completely messed up by this. So I need some resistance rolls as you try and cope with this.
Okay. I'm going to try self-confidence, cool under pressure, and think differently.
Okay, anything else you can bring into that? Let's have a quick look.
Situation awareness.
Yeah, you're better at tracking, a fighter pilot, tracking things, so yeah, that seems a good one. Yep, okay, and what about you, Jay?
No, the only thing I might have is quick wits, and I lost that due to cold.
I could attempt inspiration.
Don't worry about it.
It's arrogance, memory, methodical. But I'd argue that your memory can help. Because if you think about it, you've better ability to actually keep track of what is happening because you can remember the different bits and put them together.
Which character sheet have you got up, Chris?
Oh no, sorry, I was looking at Dr. Bennett. I've clicked the wrong one. I'll explain it. Oh, you got memory?
Yeah, I do.
Cooperative, cultural trivia, and interest. Yeah. Science, is that really going to help you in this situation?
Not really.
No, so yeah, memory is about, I think you might be on a D6 there. Okay, now what you're up against is, it'll be different for each of you. Touching or close to the examination of ghostly objects. You stamped on a rock, didn't you, Jay?
Yep.
Touching a ghost of a villager, you both did that. Neither of you went into the well. Yep. Okay. So, ghost of a living creature walk through character. That's better. Yep. Okay, Jay, you're against 4d6 plus 4.
Okay, with just a d6.
Yeah. Oh, so I've rolled too many dice there. Yeah. Oh, that's remarkably average looking. 7, 11, 12, 16. Yeah, this fucked with your head quite a bit. Do you want detachment, hallucination, self-harm, or shivers?
Can I have a look at the? Can you share the list in the link in the chat for me, please?
I certainly can. Let me just get there.
Roll Pat while I have a look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's me status effects? There we go.
Was it detachment, shivers, hallucinations, and
Self-harm.
Nice.
So yeah, work out which one sort of goes with your character, or you can role play the best. Okay,
Is this
Pat.
a similar system to the one I did for Lovecraft? Because it sounds vaguely. Anyway.
It's deliberately built on those sorts of ideas and the ideas of status effects in the common rules. So Pat, what?
5365. I don't know if it's shown up anywhere.
No, because it's not on that camera, is it? So you got walked through by a living creature, didn't you? But you didn't really touch anything else. So you're just on 3d6 plus 3. And let me dice roll gone there. 3d6. Clear that.
19. I got.
Nothing happened. Try again. Roll. 12, 15, 18.
I got 19.
Yes. So you're fine.
I am fine. Yeah.
Okay, and I've got the shivers.
Would you want to read that one out?
But it gives him the cold interaction as well. The character constantly shivers and regardless of the temperature, resists all actions involving precision control or body advantages.
Yeah, that seems to suit you. I forget what I actually rolled. I've got to make a note of it.
16.
16 minus 1, 15. So 6 plus 4.
Minus by 1, so it's 16. So it's a d6 plus 4.
Yeah. So, yeah, actually the producer's a bit concerned about you and the cameraman. So Farouk suggests that he sticks two of you and one of the assistant producers in the a helicopter, and you get flown straight back to the town and can get into a hotel and seen as soon as possible. The rest of you to investigate, well, to probably all want to head back to the hotel at this point.
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to call it there, Chris?
Well, yes, I was going to call it there. I just wanted to. What's going to be your plan for next week?
Definitely going back and watching it again. Not getting too close this time, since we know it's going to cause problems. Chris, if you look directly above where you're typing.
Oh, right. Yes.
And essentially place more cameras. Now we know where we want to be looking. We want to stick some more cameras in, specifically the bits where inside each hut, so we've got an idea what goes on in there, and where the tattooed man appears, where he hides during the attacks, and where he draws on the dead. This time, no helicopter to create dust. Because I want to double check, because I think it's tied in. Every time someone casts or magic is involved, that's what's leaving the impression. I can only assume that since the meteor's gone over again, it's causing the echoes.
Okay, Pat, you got anything to add to that?
I think we should definitely see if it's possible to rig up a camera so we can find out exactly what it is that he's drawing on these people.
Yeah, I mean, with the because you've always got the footage, so you can pretty much pinpoint exactly, assuming it is going to be the same again, pinpoint exactly where things happened and set up new remote cameras. And yeah, the crew have no problem going out and buying more if necessary, because clearly there's something worth recording here.
Yep, and that's basically that's my action. That's my recommended task for next time. And then essentially, it's going to be rewatching this, wrapped up in a blanket with a bottle of gin, desperately trying not to go mad until we find out what on earth's going on.
Okay, that seems like a good plan and a good place to wrap it up. Quickly, any feedback on this section?
I liked that. I liked the fact they got the timestamps, the different sections, and that. I think they worked quite well. It's something I was able to engage with as a woman, given enough information to make deductions from.
It's good. I just like this game, to be honest. I really like Road to Petra. I think it's one of the best ones we do.
Yeah, I mean the natural thing in the plot is because a lot of things, loose ends get left, aren't clear from that first episode, and they start to get resolved here. And this is obviously quite a critical point in the plot, is when you see the ghosts and learn a few things.
I will say that even though I missed a couple of sessions, it was very hard. It was very easy to follow what was going on, despite the fact there were some quite complex things going on. So that's good.
Good. Excellent. Okay, thanks. That's very useful. Okay, right. We'll call it a night there. So thank you very much for playing, Jay and Pat, and we will hopefully be back next week for more playtesting. So till then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.